Everybody, it's Becky Pearson with Pivot Point of View, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Destry Millsap, the one and only, the famous donkey roper. So we're gonna jump into that a little bit at some point in the podcast. But hey, Destry, how are you today?
I'm doing good, and let me just tell you, I love roping donkeys, and it brought me back to the days when I first moved to Eastern Oklahoma out of college, and I'd be with my buddies, and we'd get these calls to go catch wild cows and catch wild donkeys in the hills, and yeah, I like it. The more western, the better on that deal.
Yeah, you went and caught yourself a little ass, I guess.
We did catch all the ass we chased that day, I guess you could say.
Well, good for you. You are 10 for 10 for ass roping.
Yes, 1 for 1, 10 for 10. Yep.
All right. You are taking this whole theme becoming a badass with Pivot Point like to a whole new level.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wonders how I got such a pretty wife. Well, let me just tell you, it came from a lot of experience, but probably not how you thought. We were catching wild donkeys and everything else. So I'm just really relentless in pursuit, basically.
You wore her down.
Yeah, yeah, I got her tired enough that she finally was like, all right, fine.
You slowed down and you could get a rope on her.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Fast
right.
horses,
Yeah, so
fast horses, big loops.
this is Destry's dating advice.
Yeah, you might have to sort a few of them. Okay, you might have to get your herd together, sort them up. Anyway, that's probably for another day, and maybe not even for this. But you need
All right.
dating advice. I don't know that I'll just refer you to somebody who's probably was way better at it.
All right. Well, hey, tell us about the donkey rope and let's just go right into it. How did this all come about?
Well, so my buddy has a birthday roping every year. And so he'll have like a round robin. It's an invite only deal. And it's just for fun. And so it's kind of one of those ropings where like pretty much one of the most sober people by the short round probably wins a check. I mean, it's kind of, it's just a fun deal. Nobody gets worked up about it or whatever. So he had these, he always has some sort of like twist to it every year. So this year he had bounty donkeys. And so we had donkeys in the mix and so you had to if you drew a donkey, you could rope it and it counted as your time, or you could score it and just rope the next steer or whatever it was. But if you rope this donkey, the fastest person to rope the donkey for the day won their fees back. And then at the end, the top three teams got entered in the donkey sweepstakes. It was like, you know, the championship of championships for the day. and, uh, and honestly, I don't even know how I got myself in there because I roped so bad all day. like I broke bear. So we had the steers were strapped out there pretty far, so we could be easy on the cattle and things like that. And the cattle were slower, not as strong, so they were strapped out there. Well, my horse was in barrel horse mode, and she had had some days off and was pretty fresh, and was wanting to run through my hand and everything else. So our scoring was not too great until after the Pendleton Margarita, after the first round, and then my scoring got better. And so,
So maybe it wasn't your horse, maybe it was you, maybe you
yeah, I
were a
mean, I'll
little
just
on
take
the
the blame.
muscle.
I shouldn't place blame on my horse because I am holding the reins. So, she probably felt me like ready, ready to go. So, yes, I will take the blame on that. And maybe that's a strategy I need to figure out how to calm myself down. Maybe I'm a one beer guy or a one shot of Pendleton guy, whatever. But anyway, how my day went, and when they announced they took the top 30 back to the short round, and it was just a three-headed. So they're announcing the short round. I am 30th callback. And then they keep going and going and going and going. And I'm like, man, me and this other kid, we had two down. And I couldn't remember. I broke so many barriers. I forgot who all I broke barriers with that day. And to be fair, there was a lot of barriers being broke that day. But I just plumb forgot. I broke so many. I was like numb to the buzzer going off. Like, I didn't even know half the time. So um, anyway, so they keep announcing, and finally they get to high call, and I'm like, man, they must have forgot about us. Sure enough, nope, they didn't forget we were high call. So I was 30th callback and high call. That about describes how my day went. It was feast or famine all day. So not
Mhm.
only that, another twist is the short round is a switch ender. So if you headed in the first two rounds, in the short round you had the switch ends. Now you're a healer.
Oh
And
boy.
yeah, so that's good. And and so now I'm healing in the short round and 30th callback, go out there, catch 2 feet. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a good day. So I
Mhm.
had something else at like 24 or 25th callback, and I tried to go too fast and wasn't in position. I missed that one. So then high callback. I mean, we have some time, right? And
Mhm.
there's so many things that happen before this run. So my partner was pretty amped up about being high callback, I guess. And and so we go in there and we draw a donkey, and we're like, no, no, we'll just score it, whatever. High callback.
Mhm.
So we score this donkey. So I'm sitting there, and the donkey's just kind of like walk trotting down the pen,
Mhm.
whatever. And I'm waiting for it to get out of the way. So I'm watching the donkey. And not only
Mhm.
that, my wife is filming, so she's watching the donkey too, try to get out of the way.
Mhm.
Well, all of a sudden, this donkey, I'm telling you, maybe is 2/3 of the way down the arena. And we have a steer in the chute that has run hard all day. So I'm watching this donkey, making sure it gets out of the way while I'm healing. So I don't have any control over when the gate cracks. Sure
Right.
enough, this donkey gets 2/3 of the way, that gate cracks.
Oh.
I'm like, there ain't no way. And so my horse goes, so I just go with it, I don't know what else to do. Like
Mhm.
maybe if I get there first, I can get the donkey out of the way before we run it over. And I'm like, where is my partner at? And this became a theme for the rest of the day. And so my partner, all of a sudden out of nowhere, comes blowing up there, heads this steer. We miss the donkey. And so I'm locked in, and I'm like, okay, take a better shot this time than the last one. And so I ride up there, I get a little too close, and my horse checks off, and I rope the steer going away. And as I throw, I got him before he started to drag and end up roping 2 feet. We get a time and wound up winning second. So we
Way to
get by that
go.
steer. Yeah, yeah. So we end up winning. It was just a crazy long day and then so we fight through it. We win second. So now I ride back there and I'm unbooting my horse and everything else. And they're like, all right, now we have the donkey sweepstakes. And I'm like, what is that? What is the donkey sweepstakes? And they're like, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna let the donkeys all out at one time. And then you gotta take a shot of Pendleton. And then when the donkeys get by this barrel, you gotta run down there, rope the donkey that you're assigned,
Oh.
head and heel it, and then the first team that gets it done wins a bottle of Pendleton. I'm like, all right,
Stakes are high.
things are going well. We're gonna rope donkeys, and we're gonna go all at the same time. It was like Ultimate Cowboy stuff. Have you ever watched that show, The Ultimate Cowboy Showdown?
I haven't, but
It was kind of like some of the stuff they do on there, a little bit, but Eastern Oklahoma style. So I'm like, party girl, I'm not gonna get you involved in this. So I go get my other horse that I had there, Kiss, who's not scared to get in a wreck. Like she will plunge right into every wreck. She would probably be a great, if she was bigger, she would be a great pickup horse or a great bulldogging horse, hazing horse, because she is not scared to take a hit or give a hit, right? Like if you heel on her, she thinks it's a contact sport, and the bump and dump is about the shot you get. She thinks I mean, period. It's
right.
contact sport. She loves contact sports. So I was like, yes, donkey roping is your sport, especially with all of us going. So I go get her, and they give us this shot of Pendleton, which luckily was not like, I don't think it was an even full shot. Like it wasn't that bad, which, whatever. Pendleton's great.
Mhm.
again. So they let these donkeys out, and we all shoot our Pendleton, and these donkeys go, and the last one gets by the barrel, and we're off. And so I'm just kind of like reading the situation because everybody is balls out. My partner is over under in his horse because in our game plan that he had come and talked to me about, he goes, "All right, what do you want to do?" I was like, "I'll hit it, you heal it, whatever." He goes, "Okay, I'll get there first and keep him off the fence." I was like, "All right, sounds good. I don't know what's gonna happen anyway. Hopefully we don't get to a fence."
Mhm.
So in the video, he is over and undering his horse, like literally all the way down the arena and then past these donkeys. So I'm running behind the two other headers who are pretty much taking each other out.
Mhm.
And my donkey is running inside this other donkey. So I'm like, all right, when my donkey splits off, I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna stick him. So
Mhm.
I'm running behind, swinging my rope. Sure enough, my donkey splits off. I stick him right there. I got my donkey rope first. My partner, I don't know where he's at. I don't even know if he knew where he was at. And I'm like looking around. There's donkeys going everywhere, ropes going everywhere, and I'm like trying to find my partner in this melee. I'm like leading my donkey. I'm like, "Come on, I got him! What? Come on!" And then I see his horse. Here he goes. He bounced off the back fence, which I mean, like he coyote him the entire way, and so here he comes. He bounces him off the back fence, and he runs up behind our donkey, ropes him by 2 feet, goes to the wood, and this horse rears up and turns around, and then turns around again. And I'm like, I don't know the rules. Do we got face? Or we not? Like I got this donkey snubbed up tight, and about the time that he roped him and his horse reared up, one of the other teams finally healed their donkey, and so it was like a bang bang deal, and
Oh,
we wound up basically we didn't win, um, but I did have my donkey roped around the neck first.
all right. You did your part, right?
Yeah, and I loved every single second. I would do it again. I would become a pro donkey roper. I loved every second of that.
I think we need to do two new events. We're going to do Barrel Racer Fight Club and donkey professional donkey roping. I
Yeah,
think we
it,
need to start promoting.
it was Western for sure, and it was like seriously the most Eastern Oklahoma thing because every time I just keep going back to when we roped them wild donkeys. They had to head and heel them, and then get their front legs and stretch them out. So, oh yeah, it was a great time.
Well, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one doing some crazy shit right now. So, yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And it was inside, obviously the weather sucked. It rained all weekend, but we were indoors. And Riverbend's a great place. I hope they get that figured out and get some new ownership in there and start making it great again.
Cool, cool. Well, I'm so happy that you did something crazy.
Me too. It's kind of like a test. You used to do stuff when you're younger, and then you're like,
Mhm.
can I still do it? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
there.
Your mind tells you you can.
Yeah,
Now it's up to us to get their bodies to where they can.
yeah, exactly. I'm just thankful that my mind and my body both can.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, so I didn't have as crazy a week as you did with donkey roping, but we started our high school rodeo stuff. Gracie started cutting this past weekend, and so few things that came up. Seen a gal that had some neck pain. Worked on her at the cutting, and another horse trainer. We just got done talking to Sherry Jarvis, who she started a program, and I think this is a great program for horse trainers in because their body is their greatest asset. But this horse trainer had tore his subscapularis muscle, which is it's a part of your rotator cuff. It's a little bit different tear than a lot of people get, but he is strong now when we test that muscle. It wasn't a complete tear, but partial tear. But the one thing that he's still getting as far as pain right now is he gets shoulder impingement is what we've so we thought we'd talk a little bit about that. The signs of shoulder impingement, what I always find with people is, like you have some difficulty reaching behind your back to tuck your shirt in. You get kind of a pain when you're about in this mid range of your shoulder or of your arm movement. So if you're watching us on YouTube, it's just kind of that it usually starts to hurt about here, up to about here, and then a lot of times it'll get better. Or with him, the big thing that bothers him, it's his right shoulder. And as he reaches over to bridle horses, his hand ends up being lower than his elbow. And right there is where he gets the pain, and it radiates down his actually kind of under his arm, which I think is due to that subscapularis. But so we've been working on him. I actually started seeing him at the Rain Cow Horse event that I talked about in March, and then did a follow up with him. Got him on the app this weekend because I started him back in March on the app, but it was one of those technologically challenging things, so I could actually take him through that this weekend and got him on the app. So um, it's really shoulder impingement is so frustrating for people because your shoulder doesn't hurt all the time, and it only hurts a lot of times with certain movements. And so they're really unsure, like, do I need to go see a doctor for this? Can I just come to PT for this? And I love treating shoulder impingement. I feel like I'm really pretty good at treating shoulder impingement. And so, what are some things that you look for with shoulder impingement people?
Well, on the shoulder impingement people, I'm looking at their overall posture
Mhm.
and first off, just trying to rule out anything that could be an underlying issue. Making sure they don't have a rotator cuff issue, making sure they don't have a labrum issue, especially. And then it's biomechanics and looking at their posture for me.
100%. And that's, typically when you have shoulder impingement, you're usually pretty tight in your pecs. Your shoulders are rolled forward, so you have poor posture. You have rounded shoulder, forward head posture. And so, yeah, we've got to get those shoulders back where they need to be. Usually, I feel like they have poor um, inferior joint capsule mobility, which meaning underneath here. So if we're on YouTube, if you are watching, when you raise your arm, this is your arm, okay, and your shoulder joint is a ball and socket joint. So when you raise your arm, this shoulder ball has to actually kind of rotate down as your arm goes up. In shoulder impingement, you get kind of this jamming as you raise that arm up. And then as it gets clear up, then it finally will kind of clear. And then if you, like when you're reaching behind your back, there's also that ball is not a smooth ball. There's kind of a little knot on there. And so when you internally rotate or do kind of like this, that ball kind of gets jammed up in there. And so I've actually had a couple episodes of shoulder impingement myself. And when my ribs get elevated, so that's another thing that I really look at is rib position. And so with elevated ribs, you have more external rotation, which is a movement like this, and your internal rotation is limited. So like right there, I get kind of I hit a wall basically. And so if we get those ribs down, then my shoulder can rotate inward more. Um, And so I've had a couple of episodes of shoulder impingement where like I couldn't get my arm up to fix my hair, you know. I I to put my hand up on the horn, I had to take my other arm and put it on the horn before I could get on. I found that if I could move my arm into external rotation. So this is how I would do my hair. It sounds really stupid, but I would bring my arm up. I'd move my elbow to the inside, my hand to the outside until I got it up here, and then the pain went away, and then I could fix my hair, and then I had to do the same move coming down so that it didn't hurt so much. But that was clearing that knob. And so as I worked on getting the muscle balance better, that's kind of how I functioned for a while. So, have you ever had shoulder impingement yourself?
I believe so. There's been some times where stuff just wasn't sitting quite right. And I've had surgery on this right shoulder too. So constantly always trying to maintain it and deal with different issues. One of the things, you had mentioned with that one guy when he reached over and he got to a certain point, he was having some referred pain down there. And
Mhm.
so I've had some people with that you're like, what could possibly be causing that, and clean MRIs and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Well, if that bursa on top of there gets pinched in that joint, that will send that referred pain down to those areas like he was having. And so, um, and of course you always want to make sure, it's not coming from the neck and other places like that. But I had looked up a lot of stuff with shoulder impingement, and when that bursa gets impinged, it can refer pain down the shoulder like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think too, referring back to that website, triggerpoint.net, are there some trigger points in there that we could work on with him? So I'll look at that. I'll look that up a little bit more before I see him again. I have done trigger point releases on the subscapularis with him. That can be terribly painful to release, but it also can be very helpful. And so, which basically it's kind of digging under your armpit, digging in your armpit, which is very painful, but it can really help with range of motion and alleviate some of that pain. Um, the other things that I like to do with people that have shoulder impingement, like doorway stretches, stretch the pecs out, talking about, like you said, addressing the postural issues, strengthening the backside of the shoulder. So, like some scap squeezes, and then I really like to work with the band and stretch out and do some uh, resisted external rotation. You get those things going on, and then you get people to minimize the compression of that joint. So I want them to stop leaning on that side, like when they drive. I want them to stop sleeping on that side. um those, like, and keeping things kind of in front of them and below their shoulder height, those really can be so helpful. I also show them how to do like self joint mobilizations, kind of stretching across their body, like so, because we want to get this back of their shoulder stretched out so that we can get the humeral head pushed to the back of that, and the muscles holding them back there. And then I like to use a taping technique too that really helps pull that humeral head back and gets it into position so that the muscles that are weak have more of an advantage to work. And it kind of helps stretch out the pecs in a prolonged stretch too. And so you just have to be a little careful with the tape. If you leave it on for a really long time, you can get some blisters and sores from that. But it can really help people function a lot better in their daily life while they're working on getting their shoulders stronger.
It can kind of snowball too with if you have shoulder impingement and your posture is getting rolled forward, it can lead to you having neck pain and then go all the way down into your mid back and your low back if you
Mhm.
let it go on for a long time, and it could have came from that shoulder. So being aware of those things and fixing that stuff, because let's talk about the scapula stabilizers, because that's the foundation of the shoulder, and it's very important to have a good foundation and strong um, scapular muscles holding you in that good posture when you ride. And
Mhm.
for a few reasons, it helps you maintain a stable and balanced posture while you ride. And it also helps you to keep from getting thrown off balance or, thrown forward. It,
Mhm.
uh, it can just help you really maintain that upright and relaxed posture as you ride so you're not putting the strain on that other stuff, and you're having a good seat in the saddle that way as well.
Absolutely. And that sentence right there is almost like a direct contradictory to the donkey roping guy that we just seen at the beginning of the podcast.
Listen,
That is the
I am
same guy.
capable of I am the same guy. I am capable of a lot of things. When you see me in a polo and golf pants, on the inside, I'm not that. You can take the cowboy out of the cowboy situations, but whatever. You can't take the cowboy out of me. It's still in there.
That's right. That's right.
Um, But yeah, and so I think that a lot of people focus on core and legs so much that they kind of forget about, unless you're a roper, they kind of forget about how important the shoulders and scapular muscles are, just more for posture, but also controlling your hand as you ride, and you're not, your hands aren't going everywhere. You can keep them soft and stable and absorbing that motion to where um, you're not sending mixed signals with your horse, or your hands aren't getting too high or whatever. Um, and you can maintain that soft control of your horse. I think that that's something that definitely gets overlooked, but is a part of all the programs that we do. And I have exercises in there that involve shoulder and core positions at the same time to get that whole uh, chain through the body there. It's just one of those things that um, is very important.
Yeah. One of my favorite exercises for the shoulder, it's not an immediate exercise for shoulder impingement people, but a plank, because you are a plank and then you're rounding, you're kind of pushing your back up, because that serratus anterior muscle, it's the muscle that holds your shoulder blade to your rib cage. It actually internally rotates those ribs. And so, like I said, the thing that when when your ribs get elevated and externally rotated, then we get more problems. And so, if we can do some things to internally rotate those ribs, which a plank with shoulder protraction helps with that. And so, I love the planks because it engages that rotator cuff and especially that serratus muscle. And so, yeah, our programs have a lot of that stuff in there.
I'm glad that you mentioned the serratus because it is a part of core control, and I think that that is something again that gets overlooked
Mhm.
is its role in maintaining not only posture but also core strength. And you're talking about getting in that plank position
Mhm.
and stuff. That punch position with the serratus anterior is very important for maintaining scapular stability and core stability.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, keep doing your planks, people.
Yes.
All right. Trying to think if there's anything else we need to discuss about shoulder impingement. I have some great shoulder impingement programs put together on our app. So if you think you're having shoulder impingement, reach out to us. We can do virtual evals of shoulders. I like to have you have another person there because they're basically my hands on you to muscle test and put you through some different tests to rule out, is this a rotator cuff tear? Is this just rotator cuff impingement? And don't just think you have to settle for it, and just be in pain, because we want to be able to improve the shoulder mechanics, because I believe too, if you leave shoulder impingement go on and on, you're going to gradually wear out and tear your rotator cuff, because it's a little bit like, repetitive motion. That muscle gets pinched, 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 and eventually it's just going to tear with just the littlest thing. And so let's nip it in the bud and let's get your shoulder in a better position while you still can. And so, yeah, if you need us to do a virtual eval for this, we just need you to have somebody there to do the muscle testing and stuff for us, and then I can come up with a really good program for you for that as well.
Yeah, and if you don't like doing planks and you are maybe you're not capable or you don't like them, we will find a way to torture
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, well, even doing them on a wall, putting
Yeah.
your hands up on a wall and pushing back, or like doing it at an incline where your hands are on the edge of a table or the countertop, and leaning back. You're at like a 45-degree angle. Almost everybody can do that. Or then when we progress you down to the floor, you go onto your knees, and then eventually you go up onto your toes when you're ready. But it's a progression. If you're, like you said, if you're not strong enough to do it, there's definitely other ways to do that. And so that's why we like to be able to do the evaluation and see how you're doing with those things, and then we can modify things depending on your needs.
Yes, definitely. And especially if you're dealing with an upper body injury or something like that to where you're wanting to get core work in or hip work in and you just can't use that limb itself,
Mhm.
man, reach out to us. We'll help you work around it.
Yeah. And, even if you've had like a previous shoulder surgery and you don't feel like you're 100%, either you're lacking range of motion or you're lacking strength still. Because let's face it, like insurance, they don't pay for you usually to get fully rehabbed. There are very few insurances anymore that do. And so, usually, when I had my outpatient clinic, usually people were able to get functional and they could um they'd have their full range of motion. They were pretty strong, but they usually weren't 5 out of 5 strong. And but they were able to do their daily lives. Now you take that into consideration when you want to rope and your shoulder is still not at 100%. Insurance companies don't care that you can't rope. you know,
But
they
very
don't
much don't.
care. And so that's where we can come in and help fine tune things and progress it back to where you can enjoy doing your things that you enjoy roping and do it well and do it repetitively without getting a lot of fatigue in there.
Yeah, and I've also been working on a throwing program for a return to roping. So if you are coming off a shoulder injury and you're trying to get back to roping, man, this throwing program is going to be great. And it can involve, and it's adaptive to every person depending on where you're at and what event you're doing and stuff like that. But it involves different stiffness of rope, different diameters of rope, and then also the progression of throws and everything else, and how the distance for each throw. It involves all of that. So if you're coming off a shoulder injury and you're wanting to get on a return to rope and throwing program, reach out to us. I've been working on that and I'm super excited about it.
Cool. I'm excited about it too. All right. Well, I don't think I have anything else unless you do, Destry.
No, ma'am. I mean, I definitely got it all out there. You saw both sides of me today. You saw fun chase the donkey destry, and then you also saw let's fix your shoulder destry. So
That's all right. We wear many hats.
yeah, we can do it all. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for supporting us as always. Go check us out, pivotpointequine.com. If you want to get started, we have our rider membership. $30 a month is all that costs, and you have access to a whole library of workouts. If you want to get evaluated and get a straight line to your success, contact us, set up a call with us. We'll get you taken care of 100%. And we really put a lot into that. We want people to be successful, and that is our main goal. So definitely reach out to us if you're having issues there. And be sure to like and subscribe so we can help reach more people too, and share this podcast if you like it. So thank you all for listening again, and let your health be the pivot point to your success.